Normally, I would start my videos out with a semi-comedic introduction with a mild overview of what's going to be in the video. But this isn't going to be one of those videos, because I think it's best if I just get into the meat and potatoes right off the bat. Besides, even if you aren't Christian, I still think you should hear me out. Why are Christians sometimes homophobic? Well, to understand that, we have to understand why the Bible is homophobic. It is written in Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. If a man has sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They are to be put to death. Their blood will be on their own heads. But there is some missing context when readers see this line. You see, at the time that the Old Testament was being written, reproduction mattered a lot more. Not only were there only a couple million people on the planet, which is less than 1% of the total population today, but child mortality rate was tragically much higher. This is because, as you would imagine, medical technology was basically non-existent, and living conditions were far more unsanitary compared to now. Combine this with the extra injury of women often being malnourished during birth, and it's no wonder why making it to the age of 12 was considered a very big deal back then. But as you may have noticed in the modern day and age, things have changed. We have way more people on the planet, and we have far better medical practices and technology. As Jesus says in Mark chapter 2, verses 21 through 22, no one sews a patch of unshrunk cloth to an old garment. Otherwise, the new piece will pull away from the old, making the tear worse. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the wine will burst the skins, and both the wine and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins. For those of you who struggle to make out any meaning within these words, or want to hear my interpretation of it, think of the wine as the law and the wineskins as an era of time. If you apply old laws that were designed for an old era to a new era, it won't work. Not only are the old laws often very unfair, but naturally people will stop obeying them and things will fall into chaos. This is why we make new laws in new eras, because things are meant to change. And yes, I've seen the declining birth rates that everybody's been buzzing about, but I think it's been well established that the cause is because having a child is far more expensive and limiting than it used to be back then. Yet, if you are still concerned about the birth rates, there are many orphan children who would not be able to support or raise a family unless somebody were to adopt and nurture them. If only gay couples could adopt children or something. But let's say you're still not convinced. You still believe that being LGBTQ+ in any way is a sin crafted by the devil himself. Fine. But even then, you are in absolutely no position to judge anybody. It is written in John chapter 8, verses 3 through 11. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in the act of adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery, and the law of Moses commanded us to stone such women. Now what do you say?" They were using this question as a trap, in order to have a basis for accusing him. But Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left, with the woman standing there. Jesus straightened up and asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Go now and leave your life of sin." I could list further examples of Jesus and God instructing us not to be judgmental to each other, but let's say you aren't or are no longer going to be judgmental. You don't have to support the LGBTQ community as long as you don't make fun of them, right? Well, actually, I do have something I want to tell you. It's not anything harsh, but it's still important. Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through 37. On one occasion, an expert of the law stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he asked, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" "What is it written in the law?" he replied. "How do you read it?" he answered. "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." "You have answered correctly," Jesus replied. "Do this and you will live." But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" In reply, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite, when he came down to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. 'Look after him,' he said, 'and when I return I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have.' Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" The expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." The reason I wanted to make this video is because I know for a very long time there has been a lot of hate directed at the LGBTQ+ community from the Christian community. And because of that, I feel like it has caused many LGBTQ people to turn away from God because they aren't being welcomed by his people. It's sad. It saddens me. Because if you, viewer, are in any way LGBTQ+, God made you in his image like any other person, and he loves you. Matthew chapter 19, verses 13 and 14. Then people brought little children to Jesus for him to place his hands on them and pray for them. But the disciples rebuked them. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." If you have any thoughts you have about this video or the subjects related to it, you are welcome to share in the comments section below. Until next time.